a video on me faffing around with something that's not food. So during the lockdown, I played around with smelting aluminium out in the garden. It was a lovely summer, and I'd always had fancied having a go at it. So I just kind of cobbled together something and melted some scrap aluminium I had, and it kind of worked. I didn't make anything out of it. I just melted it because there was I kind of did lots of other projects and I got a bit got a bit sidetracked. So I've always had it in the back of my mind that I would have another go at it, and so I've been collecting for these last few years all little bits of aluminium. So the tops of the of alcohol bottles. That's Campari because we do like a Negroni. So there's lots of Campari. There's lots of these bits of aluminium from the top of Campari bottles, and there's that, which is a tube of glue, that's obviously aluminium, and we've got some glue in there. And there's these little bits of foil from the top of margarine containers and butter containers, and tops of what we call it of tonic bottles that I get from my mum. So there's all these little bits of aluminium. Now it's kind of quite low grade aluminium, and it's got paint on it, and in there as well there's kind of the seal for the top of the cap. Oh no, there's what we call it. That's this foil from a cabbage cream egg. So it's quite low grade. Oh yeah, and these are aluminium pots from aluminium things from mince pies from Christmas. So it's kind of quite low grade aluminium. So to make a crucible, to put all those in a crucible, we're not going to get a very kind of high yield. I've got quite a lot of these, by the way. So what I thought about doing was just setting a fire outside in my barbecue, getting it nice and hot, and then just throwing these in and seeing what happens. If we get some kind, hopefully what it'll do is it'll burn off the kind of like the impurities, like the paint and the little bits of the glue that's in there and all that kind of stuff. And we might just be left with something that we can put in a crucible that we get a high yield from, just kind of cutting down the amount of work. So I'm going to light a fire, and then we'll just put these in the fire and see what happens, just out of curiosity. And then when it's all, I've got a bit of a cold, by the way, so I'm a bit snotty and a bit coughy. So we're just going to light a fire. We'll throw these in the fire and we'll see what happens. I'm not going to talk outside. I don't think my neighbours need to hear me talking to myself or talking to my phone and thinking that I'm any weirder than I already am. So we'll just do that and we'll see what happens, and we'll see what kind of debris we get from it, and then if we're able to use that and kind of melt some aluminium at a later date, because I have an idea of what I want to do. And I did do this at school. So we melted some aluminium and then poured it into a mold which we made out of sand that had a mixture that was mixed with oil. So you mix sand and oil together, and then you imprint something into that, compact it, and then put something in to make a mold, and then pour the molten aluminium into it. And I couldn't really think of what I wanted to do with this melted aluminium, if I'd ever do it, but I've had an idea of what I want to do. So just a bit of play around and me faffing around with something that's not food. So let's see if this was worth doing. Oh, it feels, okay. So it feels like so that was the top of a tonic bottle, and you can see how that has deteriorated there. So it's really low grade aluminium. I suppose, has it melted into the bottom of there? Alright, okay, so it looks like the aluminium from there has melted and gone into and pooled in the bottom of there, because that's more solid. So we will have got rid of the paint off the outside, and I suppose it'll be less kind of stuff to put in a crucible. So I'll sift through that, and it's, oh yeah, maybe those bits of foil aren't worth saving in future, but we'll have a dig through it and then we'll have a go What's that on the bottom? Oh, see, that's that, isn't it? So it doesn't look like any aluminium that's kind of come out of those foil cases. There'll be some, but just not a lot, and that's probably why. And that's that's properly melted. There's that bit there. That's obviously got hot enough for long enough that it's formed a little bit of a bulb. So there is going to be some aluminium in all that. Not particularly good quality, and that's probably why you get. So some scrap yards won't take aluminium cans, and it's probably the same grade of aluminium that the bottle tops are made out of, because there's just not that much aluminium for the weight of it. There's, by the time it's been smelted, there's probably like just a too small percentage of aluminium in it that it's just not worth bother taking. But anyway, it'll take up less room in the crucibles when I eventually get around to doing it. But is it kind of worth it? That's the thing. Is it worth putting them in a fire before you put them in the crucible to melt them properly? That's the question. And probably not, actually. Probably not. Probably just better just to put them in the crucible. Unless you're actually, you've got like a proper smelter and it's working on gas and you want to save gas and you've just got a load of old wood that you're burning anyway, you just throw the aluminium into the wood fire to burn off as much of the paint and things as possible, so you're not using the gas to do that job. You're just using like a fire that you've got going anyway. But there we go. I will get around to smelting at some point, but it's raining today and I'm full of cold and I can't be bothered thinking about smelting some aluminium when I could be doing other jobs.